Hi, my name is Anthony Anderson. I'm the program coordinator for MX Treatment Department, and today I am very excited to introduce our third 50 plus strong and healthy webinar. This one specifically focused on older women living with HIV. As you know, it is Women's History Month, and we thought it was essential that we have a webinar where we highlight the issues and challenges that women face on a daily basis as they go through their journey living with HIV. And in order to do this, we worked with some amazing women that you see right in front of you to create this webinar. And we hope that you are inspired by their stories and narratives. So I'm going to turn it over to our moderator, Denise, so she can get the show running. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you all for attending this session of this excellent panel of We Are Unique, 50 plus women living with HIV and the stories of struggle and ascension. So it's an important topic. As Anthony said, it's Women's History Month, and we have some historic women on this panel that have a lot to share with us today. So we're honored to have this panel to inform and inspire us today. So as your panel moderator, I will help guide the discussion. We have a few questions for our panelists, and we'll give them a brief time to answer them. Any questions that you have for them can be put in the chat, which is up on your screen. You can type it into the chat. And after we've heard from all four panelists, we'll want to address any of the questions that you have for them as best as we can in the time that's allotted. So if you have a specific panelist that you want to ask a question, please mention the panelist's name first and then ask the question, okay? So, and I will be asking Chip or Anthony to monitor the chat room, and they'll read out the questions at the end. So we have a short period of time. We have like about a little over an hour and 10 minutes maybe. So we're going to begin right away by, well, let me just say a little something about myself first. I'm Denise Drayton. I'm a peer educator at GMHC in Manhattan, and I've been positive for 27 years, I believe, 27 years. And this has been a journey for me, but a good journey, because I just happened to be fitted to the job. You know, my status helps me in the job that I do as a peer educator, and it's been a very pleasant journey for me so far, because it pays. I get better when I give back, and I try to give back to my community as often as possible. So I'm going to start right off with our first speaker, and this is Celeste Quinones, and we're going to start off by asking her to share a little bit about herself, and then we'll go directly into the questions that we have for her. And without any further ado, here's Celeste.
Thank you, Denise, and thank you, Anthony and Mac, for giving me this opportunity to share a little bit of my story with all of you, and to be with all these great women, you know, because they are so powerful, and I feel the energy, and it's so good. My name is Celeste Quinones, and I work as a consultant for the Latino Commission on AIDS, where I coordinate a group for people living with HIV, and this group is called Poder Latino. I have been doing this for the past 15 years. And I'm also a mother, a grandmother, and an empowered Latina living with HIV for the past 32 years.
Thank you, Araceli. So our first question for you today is, because you're going to talk to us from a perspective of being a survivor of domestic violence, living with HIV. So can you tell us the impact that domestic violence has had on your life, and did it hinder you, and in what ways and why did it hinder you?
Okay, Denise, let me tell you, being on a relationship where I was physically and mentally abused was really bad, but it was even worse being in that relationship and living with HIV. Why? Because this person used my HIV status to control me, to make me feel dirty, and to threaten me every time that he was going to reveal my HIV status to my son, which he eventually did, you know. And I was afraid most of the time, and it was most of anything, it was because of the stigma that is attached to having an HIV status. So I think that I was more afraid of my status to be out than to be on a relationship where I was abused physically, emotionally, mentally, and everything else.
Right. That's a lot to go through. So tell us, how did you overcome this? And what has been the impact on your life since surviving domestic violence?
Oh, wow. Let me tell you, first, I needed to accept myself. I needed to learn and educate myself about HIV. And then after accepting myself, I started loving what I saw, you know. I saw a woman capable of doing great things, including loving myself and loving others. My self-esteem started to grow little by little, and I started helping not only myself, but also other women who were living in the same situation. I think that when I found out that I was not the only woman who was abusing drugs, who was being abused, and also living with HIV, that helped me realize that I needed to make it, and I did. And,
Yes.
and I also sadly found out that there is a lot of women who didn't make it. You know, I wanted to be in the group of the survivors. I needed to survive. I needed to fight with not only with my substance abuse, but also with my unhealthy relationship and with the stigma.
Excellent. That's a powerful story. You kind of answered my next question, which would have been, what barriers have you broken since overcoming that experience? Were there any barriers that you think you broke through?
Sure, yeah. I will say first the fear, because I didn't know if I was going to survive on my own.
Yes.
Then the shame, the emotions that I was feeling, not knowing if I was doing right, I was doing wrong. Those emotions were killing me. Also, the embarrassment because I didn't want my family to know, I didn't want my friends to know, and on top of all that, it was the language barriers because the road to find help and therapy with someone that spoke my own language wasn't easy, and I have to work to all that, you know. But I'm happy that today I could say that instead of fear, I have courage and hope. That instead of shame, I have pride and respect. And instead of embarrassment, today I have confidence. I have come a long way, baby.
Absolutely. You are an inspiration because you had a lot of barriers that you broke through, language barriers, shame, guilt, everything that you had to overcome. And you're an overcomer and a winner, baby. Yes, very good. Well, thank you very much, Aracelis. And I'm sure that if there are any comments or questions, they'll be put in the chat for Aracelis. And remember to mention her name if you have a question for her. So our next speaker is Victoria. And Victoria will tell you a little bit about herself. And then we'll have that same set of questions, which I'll ask her after she shares with us whatever she's comfortable with sharing about herself.
Hi, thank you, Denise. Thank you, MMAC. And it's so good to be with these ladies on this panel. As Denise knows, that's my ride or die. I don't share much, but I'm going to open up today. My name is Victoria Graves Kade. I'm a 62-year young African-American woman born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I'm a wife, mother of 3 grown sons, a grandmother of 4, 30 years in recovery, a long-time survivor of 26 years. I'm retired and now back in the workforce as a peer educator, also at GMHC, training older adults, which I love. It's my passion, and it's been a blessing to me to do it. not only to do it because it's something that I feel strongly about, but I'm doing it with a very good friend who I've known for over 30 years, and we just feed off of each other. I have no fear when I go out with her. It's just been a blessing. So that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. And you know, the fact is, people have good things come in small packages. She has a lot to speak, but she never feels like she does. But and whenever I listen to her, I'm always inspired by what she has to say. So, with saying that, I'd like to know, how did substance use impact you? Did it hinder you in any way? And why did it hinder you?
Well, for one, it robbed me of a lot of years. Those years I spent chasing that drug. It took me away from being a mother uh, early on in my son's life, and that haunts me. But I know for my son, who will be 30 soon, he doesn't know that, but I know that. So that's something that I carry. Um, it's making me even tear up right now, and that's crazy, but it robbed me. And you never forget that, even with all the work that I've done, on myself, and continue to do every day, you never forget that, because that's missed time that I can never get back. So yeah, a lot of time chasing something that was superficial. That's what it did.
Thank you. So, having said that, it robbed you of time, and I think as a fellow recovering person, it robbed me of time as well. And I was out there a long time thinking I couldn't go back, but I did some self exile, which I was always accepted. So, saying that, how did you overcome it though? What did you do to overcome it? And what has been impact on your life ever since you overcame?
Well, a program,
Mm.
and just absolutely being beat down, and being ready to get help, and then having a program and honestly being ready to work that program. The 12 steps did it for me. And I had to be willing though, to do it. For me, it was AA. I have to be honest, for me, it was AA. Even though I'm gonna tell you, I was a crackhead, self-disclosure, but it was AA for me that did it. A sponsor, fellowship, and the ABCs. And you asked me, what was ABCs? Ashtray, brooms, and chairs. That's what they told me when I went in. And that was service. And to this day, 30 years later, I do service. Every course of my life, there's some service that I'm doing for somebody else because it takes me away from me, takes me out of my head. And telling on myself. I told my family, I told on myself at every course. And having family, having hope, and those minute things, those little things, one day, 1 second, it worked for me. And this is an everyday thing for the rest of my life, and that's okay. I'm a work in progress. And you be around me all the time, Denise. You hear me saying I'm a work in progress every single day. I'm 62 years old, but I'm still a work in progress. And that's okay too. And so that's what I do.
Excellent. So, what barriers do you feel like you broke through, since overcoming your experience? What doors did you kick in?
I kicked in the doors of, well, for one, thinking that I knew everything. My background of, the social work background, I could heal everything, I know everything, I can fix everything. No, I can't. I need fixing. And it's okay that I need fixing. Also the stigma, you know, I'm HIV positive, I'm in recovery, oh, the shame, getting over that. That took doing a fearless moral inventory of myself and being okay with me, and constantly doing that and being okay with me. And once I did that and got honest with me, and I can look in the mirror at me and be happy with me, and like they say, happy, joyous, and free, I'm there. I'm happy about how I look. I'm a beautiful chocolate woman, full figured, and I'm happy about that. I'm joyous. I don't have any apologies for who I am. And I'm free. I'm free of the stigma that I'm HIV positive and I'm in recovery. So that's where I broke through, you
That's a
know?
great place to be, a great place to be. And I hope everyone that is on today is feeling a little bit more encouraged, because this panel is getting deeper and deeper. The more I move through it, the better it gets. I tell you, this is a powerful bunch of women. And I thank you for sharing that. And I thank you for sharing so honestly, ladies. And so our next speaker is my girl, Nancy. And Nancy, if you would just tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'm going to ask you those same set of questions when it comes to your health care and how you manage your health care as a positive woman.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm really honored to be on this panel with all of these wonderful women. Thank you, NMAC, for giving us this platform. So I'm 63 years old. I've been living with HIV going on 36 years now. I'm a mom. I just have one son. He's actually, today's his birthday. He just turned 41. Sad I'm not
Happy
gonna,
birthday!
yeah, but he's the love of my life. Anyway, I have been working and volunteering in the HIV field for about 21 years. I started just by going into I live in Nassau County on Long Island, and I joined the Planning Council, and I joined some other committees in the Ryan White Care Network to get more involved. I began working as a peer educator with Planned Parenthood in 2004, and I'm still with them. I do testing, pre-post test counseling on their mobile van. I became a New York State certified peer worker in 2016, and I also do peer work in the clinic that I receive my primary care at North Shore University Hospital, where I write a newsletter and I help facilitate a treatment adherence support group there. So that's pretty much what I do, and I'm also involved with the project that NMAC is doing for the National HIV and Aging Network. I'm excited about that, getting more awareness out to people aging with HIV.
Yeah. So, you know, one thing I'm seeing as a recurring theme here is service. Everybody on this call gives service in one way or another to our community, you know, the community of positive people. And I think that's fantastic. Nancy, you know, I didn't know, I knew about you, but I didn't know that much, and that's a lot and great. So let me ask you a question. How does the importance of medical upkeep with your HIV diagnosis, how important is it to stay on top of your treatment and with HIV?
Right. Well, for me, it's extremely important because, as I said before, I have been living with this for a very long time. At the beginning of my diagnosis, I had a lot of complications from, you know, the AIDS diagnosis. I was constantly sick. Everything just seemed, I felt like I had no control over anything. The medications that they had out back then didn't really work. I just felt like AIDS was taking over my whole body, and I had no control over anything. I managed to do what I could do. I tried to live a healthy life. I stopped, I wasn't smoking cigarettes. I wasn't drinking. I was trying to eat healthy, but still, I was just sick all the time. And I thank God I managed to hang on long enough to start taking the new antivirals that came out in the mid-90s. Because they and the grace of God saved my life, and I've I realized, okay, after, you know, about a year of recovering from all the AIDS complications and having cancer also, maybe I wasn't going to die as soon as I thought, because I was doing better. I was actually, for the first time, I remember seeing my blood work, and I actually saw that my T cells had gone up from like literally nothing to over 200, and that was just like, to me, a miracle, because I
Yeah.
never thought that that would happen. It took a while for me to become undetectable because they had to try different medications, but in 2003 I became undetectable. And I was always one to never miss appointments, no matter, even, you know, unless I was sick, because I felt that it was just really important to have my blood work done as often as I needed to, because blood work can show you things or tell you things about your body that you may not know is going on. So I am very appointment adherent, and I'm medication adherent. I've always been one to take my medications right. But unfortunately, since I've been positive for so long and I've been on so many different drugs, I have a lot of resistances. And it's not because I miss doses, it's just the way it is. You know, when it gets to a certain point where this virus changes and mutates, and the drugs just don't work anymore. So that's why I always tell people, don't skip doses. If this medication is working for you, take it right, because you don't want to get to where I am, where you have limited dose, limited options. I make sure I go to all of my, besides my HIV doctor appointments, I make sure I do all of my screenings every year. I feel like sometimes some women may not, especially with the pandemic now, well, I don't want to get my mammogram because I don't want to be put at risk for anything else, or they're not going to the gynecologist. These things are very important. The gynecologist is if you stay on top of that, you can prevent things from getting worse. Just get your yearly pap smear. Cervical cancer can be treated if it's caught early. And another thing that a lot of women are not aware of is rectal cancer. All people are, actually, it's one of the more common cancers, and all people are at risk for it. Gynecologists don't always do that type of testing, but it is necessary because unfortunately the HPV virus can cause rectal cancer, and I get checked for that every year also because I've had problems with HPV in the past. I get my mammograms, and now that we're getting older, there's a lot of different specialists involved. It's not just
Right.
a matter of being undetectable anymore. I just heard from Croy that within the next 10 years, 36% of people aging with HIV will experience multi-morbidities, and that's not a good thing. So we really just have to stay on top of our health. If you feel like you have anything going on that's weird or strange, go to the doctor. Don't let the pandemic scare you, because you want to stay. Listen, we've made it this long. We got to keep. We were striving. Now we're thriving. I feel like I'm thriving now. I do have things going on, but I feel like health-wise, I'm in a good place, and I am really grateful for that. I really am.
Yes, then that was fantastic information. It's very important to stay in touch with your team of doctors. And you're right, as we age, different things happen. We're long-term survivors. I was diagnosed in '93. So after a while, things do change and we have to stay on top of it. So do you have any pointers that people can do while, going to the doctor? Is there any suggestions that you have because sometimes we go into the doctor's office and we just let them do all the talking. Is there something that we can do to kind of get our voices heard at the doctor?
Well, first of all, I believe it's important to have a good relationship with your doctor, to trust your doctor. I'm fortunate in that I've been going to the same HIV doctor for over 25 years. She's a woman, and I trust her with my life because she saved it more than once. I would think, if you have something going on, especially maybe a newly diagnosed person may have a lot of overwhelming questions in their head, that they should write them down and go before they go to the doctor. And if you're not happy with the way you're treated at a clinic or with your doctor, speak up. This is your life. You know, I don't like to be treated as a case. I like to be treated as a person, you know, who has a serious condition that can't, you know, just don't want to be a number or a case. And I don't feel like that now. I know my doctor stays on top of things, and it's really good to have that support system and to have a good relationship with your doctor and your nurse and everybody in your healthcare team, all the doctors that you see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for that. That was thorough and comprehensive. I appreciate your sharing. And
Welcome.
so we're going to round the corner here and get to Cecilia, because she is going to bring us inspiration and hope for the future. She's an advocate. And what's the future for us is as far as being older adults living with HIV, especially older women living with HIV. Please share a little bit about yourself, Cecilia, and then give us your best predictions for our future.
My name is Cecilia Dennis, and I've been HIV positive for 31 years, and I'm single.
Get that
And
in.
yes, hey. Um, I'm a patient care coordinator for CAN Community Health. I love my work. I'm able to assist patients in staying in care, removing barriers that they may face, with staying in care. So it's a wonderful opportunity to, help folks in the community. Prior to that, I worked as a prevention specialist, doing testing, education, and that type of thing. Enjoyed that as well. Like most of us stated, service, being in service is of the utmost importance. That's kind of how I started out. Once I realized I wasn't dying, um, I decided that I had lived so long, I needed to give back because, life's been good to me. So that's what I started doing. I started volunteering and showing up and showing out. And then I got employed and by those two organizations, and I really am very grateful and pleased to be among these wonderful group of people. Um, I'm also Arizona State Positive Women Network Arizona State lead, uh, NMAC HIV 50 plus, working with Nancy on the National HIV Advocacy Network, and that is I'm learning a lot from that. Also, I'm working with the Reunion Project, so I'm keeping myself busy and loving what I do. I'm learning, I'm growing, and I think that's really important to be active, stay active, and give back to the community,
Yeah.
because if we don't, who will?
Right. So I know that I've sat on boards and I've got involved in activism where I was just a figurehead. I wasn't I was like, that particular board needed a African American woman living with HIV and of a certain age. And as far as, I didn't feel like my voice was heard because I was just a placeholder. So what do you say for people that want to join boards and be a part of advocacy that will help them be heard at these tables that they're invited to?
Thank you for asking that question. It's so important that we continue to show up. You do, and you may have those feelings, and that may be the case. You may feel like you're just a placeholder. You're a name card. You check that box off. But show up, show out. Make sure your voice is heard. Don't be a placeholder. If you're going to show up, make sure you bring your voice, bring the voice of the community, because that's how we get things done. We need women in those seats. One of the issues was, as a, for lack of a better word, as a patient, uh, you feel silence. You feel like you're requiring care and treatment, and you have no power. And when you show up and you speak up, you take back your power. And you not only take back your power, but you empower others. So it is very important. We need women in these seats to speak for us. Otherwise, somebody else is going to make the decisions for us. Another wonderful woman that does services in the community, I'm going to steal a saying from her, and it is that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. If you don't have a
Ooh,
seat at the table, then you're on the menu.
that's a
And
good
that is a good one, and it is so true. So we need to have our voices heard. We need to be assisting with developing the programs that we require, because no one else can speak for what I need or has lived my experiences. So it is so important for me to say what my needs are. It's like in any relationship, you have to speak up and let folks know what you need in order to be happy, healthy, and successful. And if you don't do that, then you kind of have to look back at yourself, because closed mouth don't get fed.
That's right. That's right. Well, I wish I had a friend like you on the board when I was on that board, because you would have brought me along a little bit better. But I've learned since then to do exactly what you said, to speak up, to seek out those people on the board that and ask them, can I sit next to you at the meeting? Can I get a little understanding from you because you've been here longer than me, or whatever? Like you said, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So I part of it is my fault for sitting there and being a placeholder. But now I know a little bit better, and I'm glad that you shared that. So any last thoughts from each of you as we wind down? And we're going to take some questions that might be in the chat. But any last gems that you want to lay on us, Aracelis?
Well, I will say, like, always remember that you are not alone, okay? And when you need help, please reach out. There is people that are going to help you, okay? Don't feel ashamed. You are a human being. You have the right to be loved and respected, regardless of your HIV status, regardless of your gender identity, regardless of the race.
That's great. Nice pearl. Victoria, you got a gem for us?
I want to echo what Nancy said. When you go to your provider, they are there for you, and you have to empower yourself to get what you're supposed to get. And I just want to say, I remember when I first was diagnosed, I went to a program that was world renowned. And when I went, I had 72 T cells and I was very sick. And the doctor told me that I would, why, in other words, why was I bothering them? I wasn't going to live for 6 months. I wouldn't be here in 6 months. And it crushed my soul. It crushed me. And I met a woman that day who I still know now that told me, don't believe it, and empowered me to go to administration and report that doctor. So if never let anybody make you feel smaller than who you are important. And if the doctor doesn't treat you as such, do not put up with it. You are the important person in that room, not that doctor.
Right. I remember being a part of a clinical trial, and it took me a while to determine that I wanted to be a part of a clinical trial, but I had Hep C and I wanted to be cured of it. So I joined the Harvoni trial, and I went, and there was supposed to be a financial incentive, but that wasn't the point. I wanted to be free of Hep C. But the fact of the matter was, I had to get there. So it required a Metro card, and they were supposed to give that out. So when I asked about it, they got very snippy with me, and they said, well, you ought to be glad that you're a part of this trial. You're getting free medicine. And but I said, and you're also getting information from me that you can use for other people. So subsequently, I reported the people and, to the Institutional Review Board, but I also was cured of Hep C in the process with Harvoni. So, but that I say that to say, speak up. Do speak up. Like it's your dollars, whether they come in a ADAP card or a Medicare card, whatever. It's money, and you're getting paid. You're paying them for a service. They work for you. You have to get the benefit of their best care. Nancy, you got any final thoughts?
Only like what was said before. nothing about us without us. You know, we need to be involved in the process of what's going on with our lives. They've made a lot of progress with HIV treatments, but as we age, we need to really stay on top of our health. I just want to say again then how important it is to, I guess, stay on top of our physical and our mental health,
Yes.
have a good support system, friends, any people you can find that, you know, can empower you. I feel like we all here who are living with HIV for so long can be an encouragement to maybe somebody who's newly diagnosed, maybe watching this, and I feel like we can encourage them and hope show them that you can live with HIV and you can live a healthy life if you do the right things.
Thank you, Nancy. Cecilia, anything to add? And our final
Yeah,
thought.
sure. I'd like to encourage folks to participate in their care, like the other ladies stated. Don't be ashamed of your status. You know, life gets better once you accept it and you overcome the stigma of it. Then life really begins again. And don't be ashamed of what you think you don't know. Show up, ask questions, and ask more questions, and say what's on your mind. Don't be shy. Um, you know, I know it's easier said than done, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And you know, just keep striving to be better, do better, and and be happy. Live, just live.
Yes, I am so grateful for you ladies. You're so brave and beautiful, inspirational and informative. You made this panel a breeze for me. I don't generally do moderation, or moderate a panel, but thank you for sharing from your heart and giving such good information. And I'm going to ask Chip or Anthony, if there's any questions in the chat or anything that anybody wants to share, um, if you let me know.
Yeah, hi. This is Chip. We have one question right now, and it's directed towards Aracel, but I think it can be directed to just about everybody if they want to answer it.
Okay.
During the roughest times, what would have been the best help you could have been provided or were provided by a case manager?
So repeat that again. During the roughest times.
Sure. During the roughest times, what would have been the best help you could have been provided or were provided by a case manager?
You got that, ladies? So the question is, how during the roughest times, what was the best, how could a case manager been more helpful to you? What was the best help that a case manager could have offered you during those roughest times that you were experiencing?
I'd like to address that.
Okay.
Um, in all respects, at every setting, it's compassion and seeing me. Like you say, I'm not a number. I'm not. I'm not coming to you as in pieces. I'm a whole human being,
Yeah.
and you know, when you address me as that, and you see me, and you show me compassion, then I feel serviced. I feel like, you know, I've been taken care of.
Thank you.
I agree. I was in North Carolina for 15 years, and I lived in a bubble, pretty much ashamed to, here I go with the tears again, to disclose my HIV status because they're kind of in a stone age. And I moved back home 8 years ago, and had to go, had to come back and get into services. And I met a case manager who respected me, the whole me. And she was much younger than me. And that can be a stigma, but not with this case manager, just respected the whole me and my situation, and walked me through the whole process, not like a child, like an adult, and literally walked me through the whole process, took me every single place I needed to go. And like you said, Cecilia, it made it just so much better for me to deal with as an older adult. So it does mean a lot. It meant so much to me to have to go back in the system, but to have someone who saw me and respected me. It was.
That
That's
was a
what I need. Yeah.
that was a great question. Anyone else? Okay. So,
Oh,
Chip,
yep,
is
we
that
got another question here.
okay?
Where did you seek help during the early years of HIV? Were there any services for women?
I'll speak on that, I guess, first a little bit. When I was first diagnosed, I didn't know anybody else living with HIV. I felt very alone, a lot of internal stigma. I didn't know what to do. I somehow got the phone number of the local AIDS service organization in my area, and they were a lifeline for me. They just like helped me so much, telling me, what the best doctors were. I said, I don't know where to go to the dentist. I need a dentist. They hooked me up with a support group, and it felt so good to be able to talk to other people. I'll never forget the first support group I went to in, I think it was 1991, and to be with other people who truly understood how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so great. And I felt like if I didn't, that agency at that time when I needed it, they were a lifeline for me, and they really got me through the first few years were very tough, just go through, it's life changing, and you're not feeling well, and if you don't know anybody else who has HIV, living with HIV, it's hard, and that really saved me. It got me through hard years. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Nancy.
Can I add something about that?
Yes.
I was diagnosed 33 years ago, and I wasn't only diagnosed with HIV. I was diagnosed with AIDS because I had 30 T cells, and the nurse who gave me my results told me that I was gonna die within 1 year, and I was pregnant. So it was devastating, and I couldn't find help in the hospital. Nobody will listen, nobody will give you good advice. I think that I had a friend who told me about an agency here in New York City, where I went, and I found what I needed: empathy, somebody that listens to me, and not only that, somebody who helped me with everything. It was a chaos. My life was a chaos at that time, and I think that one of the things that helped me a lot were the support groups, which right now I think they are almost non-existent. But during that time, it was wow. It was sitting on a table with other ladies or with other people who are living with HIV and had similar problems of the ones that I was having. It was tremendous help. So, I wish things were like that now, because now we rely on the internet and other things, and it's like, that physical thing that we really, really need is not there as it was before. And I thank God that I had people that care. So I think that that's what we will always need. Somebody who have compassion, like I think Nancy or Cecilia said, compassion, that have empathy, that have love and understanding of what
Absolutely.
we're going through. Thank you.
That was wonderfully said. I learned a lot today. I hope you did
Oh,
too, everyone.
Denise?
Chip, yes?
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. We still have several more questions coming in.
Excellent. That's what we want. These ladies be
Yeah.
pouring their hearts out to us. I would
Yeah,
think.
we have a few more questions.
Okay, let's go.
How would you convince people of color to show up at planning councils and to get involved?
Repeat that.
Sure. Let's see. How would you convince people of color to show up at planning councils and get involved?
Okay.
That's the $1 million question right there. I have to say it. People need, enjoy being incentivized. I know a lot of organizations, a lot of folks feel like we shouldn't have to pay people to take care of themselves or to show up, but uh, we don't know folks' circumstance. I might not have food to eat after I leave your meeting. I might not have cab fare, bus fare, or whatever it is when when I leave your meeting. You don't know what my circumstance is, and I have to add to that most women living with HIV are well below the poverty line. I don't have exact numbers right now. Last time I checked, I think the average annual income was something like $9,000. So yes, we may need to be incentivized. That is a way, and it doesn't always have to be monetarily, but we that's one way to get folks, may help get folks to come out.
Excellent.
I
Nancy,
agree.
you want to add something?
I wanted to say something also. I think we have to think outside the box. I think we want to always think that people don't want to get involved. It's not that they don't want to get involved. Circumstances stop people from getting involved. Education, training, stop people from getting involved. The time of day. I often talk about that in my trainings. A lot of times the meetings are in the evening, and if you're a single parent and you have children, you can't make those evening meetings if you don't have childcare. We need to think about those things when we plan meetings. Women are the most, um, I can't think of the word right now, but we're the ones that will go to those meetings. And so you want to get us to those meetings, you got to consider we've got to come home, we've got to cook, we've got to get this homework done and all those things. So we have to think outside the box when we want people to get involved, and we haven't. And so that's the result. But people do want to go to those meetings.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody is saying. And if a person that has sat on boards and planning councils, the other thing is it's intimidating sometimes, the language, and the amount of paperwork and the amount of discussion. But know that there's somebody there, and if you don't understand, just raise your hand and say, I didn't understand what you just said. Can you break that down for me? And they'll break it down. Don't be intimidated by the enormity of the project itself, because your voice is needed, because they'll make decisions without you that don't involve you. And I think a lot of times that's what happens with women. We weren't at the table when medicines were being developed and things like that. So the interactions that we have and the way our body changes after taking these medicines, because we weren't there to say this is what we need or this is what doesn't work for us. So don't be intimidated and latch on to somebody like Cecilia. You see her in a meeting, sit next to her, ask her for some help, because it's important to be a part of these planning committees, because people, like Victoria said, think you're not interested or you don't care, but we do care. We want a voice at the table and we want to be heard. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, when I went on to started on my planning council in 2007, it was empowering for me. I felt like important. I'm sitting in this room with the Nassau County Health Commissioner, the Suffolk County Health Commissioner, all of these attorneys and providers, and I felt like, wow, I'm on this council. They want to hear my input. And it was like a self-esteem boost, and I felt like I was, making a difference. We decide where the Ryan White money goes to, what services are more important, and what money should go where. It was always a good experience for me. I would always tell somebody if they were interested in going on a planning council, to try to get on. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Chip, thank you, ladies. Any more questions, Chip?
Yes, a few more. What can advocacy organizations or advisory boards do to make participation more welcoming, meaningful, and rewarding for women living with HIV? We need lots more strong, beautiful women like you.
Oh, God bless you. Anybody want to tackle that? Or you think you probably answered something similar to that? Repeat the question again. What can...
Sure. What can advocacy organizations or advisory boards do to make participation more welcoming, meaningful, and rewarding for women living with HIV?
Welcoming, meaningful, and rewarding. I think the ladies did mention, the fact that you have to consider what people might be experiencing, incentivize them. The other thing was the time of day some of these meetings are. And we're older adults, and being out after a certain time of day is not healthy for us. They're still knocking people over the head here in New York. At 68 years old, somebody was dragged in my neighborhood lately and almost raped. So there's a couple of things, childcare, all of those things have to be considered. So when a planning council recruits for people, they have to, ask the right questions of people, and people need to have make an informed decision if that's the right board for them. Yeah.
Respect, 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 respect. We all deserve respect, and a lot of times when you show up, I can't say a lot of times. Sometimes you may show up and feel like you're not recognized, not, you feel like you're that placeholder. And I think that's an area that can use a lot of work. Frequently, we're asked to participate and disrespected. I have to say it, we're disrespected when we do. You can't, it's not wise to have just show respect. Just be respectful and be considerate of, the person's underlying issues, needs, concerns, and understanding of that. And, understand that I'm volunteering my time. I'm doing this because I want to, not because I have to. And hear me, don't just discard or dismiss my voice.
Thank you, Cecilia. Thank you for that question. That was a great question, and thanks for the compliment.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Next question.
Can I add something to that, please? I agree with that, Cecilia. I sat on an advisory board some years ago, and I was a younger woman then, but when I was amongst people that were older than me, in contrast, and when I would voice some things, they would say, "This is how we did it." Well, this is how we always done it, and in contrast to that, exactly, not being heard. And so when I stopped showing up, they were like, "Oh, why aren't you coming to the meeting anymore?" Well, I try to input some ideas and you always poo-poo it down. So exactly, listening to people and respecting their opinions and their ideas of everybody. It is important. Thank you.
So we have about 3 more questions. Is there anything you wish you would have heard immediately after being diagnosed? This is from a person who provides rapid HIV testing and wants to know how to best support those testing positive.
Contrary to what I was told, which was you're going to die within 2 years, don't tell anybody, get an abortion. I want to hear the exact opposite. Your future is bright. Live your life. Have goals, have dreams, have babies, make love, be in love, all of those things. Life is, your future's bright. You just have to take care of yourself, you know. It's not a death sentence. It's a chronic condition that you will manage and you will survive and you'll be successful if you choose to.
I think you said it all.
Okay, next question. What are ways support groups can help older women living with HIV?
For one, we need to have support groups again. Support groups saved my life, and as you can see, it's all of us were involved in support groups. We miss them. We need to have support groups again. They were vital in saving our lives. Where did they go? We need to have support groups again.
It's also a way of, you know, when you go to a support group, it gets you out at non-pandemic times. It gets you out of the house. You go to a place where you're social, not only, you know, meeting new people, you're socializing, you're making friends, you know, so it can always be a good thing, especially for somebody that's living alone, that doesn't have a lot of friends or family. That support group, definitely. But for some reason, I don't know if it's funding, they just don't have, or they think we don't need them anymore. They're just not.
I like to add to that. For me, it's really important that these support groups are peer-led. Nothing, nothing irritates me more than, you know, going to a support group that's led by some high dollar figure person that has no idea what it's been like for me, and they're just there for the paycheck and just, you know, no. We need to do our own work in our own communities.
Okay. Let's see. Sorry, I lost track of it. How do we get representation that shows women in marketing? I am convinced the marketing is still targeted to same gender-loving men, and that only reinforces a belief this only affects gay men.
Well, I can just speak fast on that. I've been part of the HIV Stops With Me campaign. This is my 3rd year now, and I don't know if people know about that. It's a New York State Department of Health run campaign, and there's about 25 to 27 spokesmodels on this campaign, and we put our faces out there on posters. We have events, and the campaign consists of all different people, you know, from all walks of life. So it's showing you that, you know, HIV is just not a problem for this person or this population. They're showing, you know, guys as young as in their early 20s to women in their 60s. It's very diverse.
You know, I think that I've heard of that campaign. I've seen it. There's several campaigns, and but it's those campaigns are not marketed well. Meaning that when you have recruitment to for people to try to join that campaign or be a part of it, it's like a hidden thing. It's like word of mouth amongst people that know. Because I had no idea when that thing is up for, you know. So we need to share amongst ourselves when these things are available so we can be on the marketing end of things, and our voices can be heard and our faces can be seen. It can't be, you know, like it's almost like Gilead, you know, like whatever organization, whatever is sponsoring these things, it's a hush hush thing. Not everybody knows about it. So we, you know, like each one teach one, share the information. You know, it's enough to go around for everybody. You know, don't keep it to yourself.
We recruit every year, so at the end of the year, so I'll maybe remind people. I mean,
I
that's
agree.
why I got on, because somebody I knew was already on it, and they needed somebody from Long Island, and he referred me. So
Yeah. So yeah, it's not. It's good to know, but it's the campaign itself needs to throw a wider net and get it out to more people. It's not our responsibility. Yeah. Thanks. Okay.
Next question. Funders only allow so many incentives and told us we can no longer serve food at our meetings. How do we advocate to keep those incentives?
Yes, I know. We had that same issue, and I think funders are out of touch. Funders are really out of touch, and they really handcuff us as to, Cecilia said, the plight of who we're servicing, and it's really a dysfunction. And so we had to come up with all different kinds of, we had to jump different kinds of hoop of getting sponsorship from outside people. We had to go and ask other organizations that had money, that didn't know what to do with their money, to help. And rather than go in our little bit of pockets, because we didn't have the money to do it. But it has been difficult, because they're out of touch with the population that we're going out to serve. So yeah, it's finding different ways to work that.
Yep.
It's also the way grants are written, because they don't ask on the grants for the needs of the community, and they will, write whatever fits the agency, but they forgot what is really needed. And that's what we need to be always constantly speaking about, what are our needs. And I think that food is a need, because if you're gonna gather a group of people, and I don't know about the time, but something needs to be served. And like Denise said, there has to be incentive, there has to be something for people to come, for people to attend. So the way that they write the grants, it has to include why it's needed, because it's going to promote better health, because people sometimes take pills with medication with food, and it's needed, so that's one thing that they have to work on.
This is very true. Food is a big incentive. I've noticed that over the years. And I remember back when they allowed pharmaceutical companies to supply food, and for some reason that stopped, because they would, they had money, and they would always put out give us like really good, healthy food.
They didn't want people to think that,
yes,
that the pharmaceuticals were buying.
right.
People. Yeah.
Okay, next question. How do you encourage women living with domestic violence to go get help?
That's a very complex question, because when a person is living through a situation like that, there is a lot of shame, like I said before, fear, stigma. So it's a lot of things going on. So how do you encourage? By listening, not by judging again, because some people judge without not knowing the facts. And we have, that not everybody, but there is a lot of people that like to judge and say, oh, she's there because she likes to be beaten or whatever the reason, and it's not like that. We need to educate ourselves, but one of the ways to encourage women to seek help is to listening to them, let them talk, offer them ways that they can navigate the system, help them by not only listening, but also to give yourself as a role model, as an example, if you have experienced something like that, and that will encourage them, because not, it's also the denial. Some people are still on denial, and they don't think that they are on an abusive relationship, so it's listening to the person and trying to find a way to show them that there is help.
Exactly. That's perfect. And the other thing is that no matter how many times you help them, keep helping them, because there's a reason that you don't know. It's financial. They might have, abuser might have control of their medications. It's their health insurance that these people are on. There's children involved. There's so many facets that don't give up on them. Like, it's important what Araceli says, listen, just be an ear. Sometimes all they need is to know that you believe them. And no matter if you worked out a plan with them, you got them right to the door and they didn't go through the door, help them get back to that door again. Don't give up on them.
I agree. And also, you know, when you're listening, if you can, you know, at the same time that you're developing the relationship and trust, that you try to drop as many tools, you know, to help them with, so when they are ready, you know, I try to provide a toolkit that when they are ready, you know, find a friend that they trust,
Yeah.
leave a phone over there, get a to-go bag, and in that to-go bag, put their insurance card. If they have children, you know, put the children's favorite toys and put that over there at their best friend's house or somebody that they trust. You know, just give them things to that they can prepare when they are ready, so that, because you don't know when they're going to have to leave, that they have the things that they need. If it's a birth certificate, social security, you know, those things, and you're just talking about those things in conversation, you know, so when they are ready, but develop the relationship, listen, and just be there, like Denise said, just be there and listen.
Right.
Okay. We have one more question. Actually, it's two, but they're similar, so I'm going to combine them.
Okay.
One is, so it's, why do you think providers seem to no longer fund support groups? And how can we encourage funders to support them?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure. Why do you think providers seem to no longer fund support groups? And how can we encourage funders that we need them and to continue supporting them?
I can't imagine why they would stop. Well, I know, you know, with COVID, a lot of the support groups have stopped meeting in person. Some are trying to continue virtually, and I don't know how that's going. But I'd encourage funders, organizations, individuals, everybody to, you know, develop a support group, a network. You know, if there's not one in your area, maybe you can find one online. But join together. There's power in numbers. There's safety in numbers. We lean into each other in times of need. We share stories. We learn and grow from each other. Support groups help keep us strong. They lift us when we're feeling weak. They are very important. They play a very important role. They're very, very impactful. I know in early days of my diagnosis, there were no support groups for me. I lived in silence and alone. At my doctor's advice, didn't tell anybody for many years until I moved to Arizona, and that's where I found a wonderful organization that lifted me out of my depression and helped me to realize that I was not dying, that I was living, uh, and they're still needed. They're still required, especially for women and the underserved communities. We need those support groups because we need to see ourselves being
Yes.
successful and in growth process, and we need to share that experience with others.
And on a very grassroots level, just write a letter to your provider and say, we need a support group. We have a bunch of women that are going through trauma and they need support. And this is why it's important. You know, we need to be productive, and a person needs to be holistic about their health. If we're working on their treatment, we need to work on their mental health as well. And support groups is one of the best ways we can do it. So, you know, just keep on them. Write, send emails, write, you know, write to the organization, and that's on the grassroots level of what you can do, because it is important. Yeah.
Clinic that I attend at North Shore University Hospital was running a women's support group, and they, ever since I've been going there, they've had it, and up until the pandemic, it was still going on. And as long as the women are willing to show up, they kept it running. You know, I've seen groups that disbanded because they didn't have people just stopped coming, and it wasn't worth it for them to run it for one or two people. But you know, this women's group, they were getting a good turnout, and So if people want the group, like you said, right? Tell your agency or provider that you want this. Maybe, you know, they think that we don't need it anymore. Not everybody needs a support group, but there are a lot of people that do, and they need to speak up.
Thank you, and thank you all, and thank you all that attended. We really appreciate your supporting us in this webinar. I hope you saw how we overcame and we started with a struggle, but we ascended into greatness. And these women are wonderful for being so open and honest and sharing from their hearts. We have great gratitude for you for doing that. We love you and we appreciate you. And we hope you'll join us at our next webinar that Anthony will keep you informed about. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.